Okay, I had a little bit of a technical issue, so I already bought my Bitcoin already. So as you can see, I have 0.1086, just under 11% of a Bitcoin. So I already made that purchase today, my $333, like I do every day. But anyways, today I'm just going to take a look at at a few things. Um, I'm going to look at there was just this one thing that struck me. This one here. Why Bitcoin will death spiral. Um, and it was
Our
I found
advice now
it
is
very interesting.
that I,
So we'll go to the start here.
as Bitcoin prices breach new all-time highs and continue to climb higher, what really is the actual value of this cryptocurrency and this assets that's taken headlines by storm? Steve Hanke, professor of applied economics at Johns Hopkins University, is here to discuss cryptocurrency valuations along with monetary policy. Professor Hanke, welcome back. We're speaking on the second day of Jerome Powell's testimony with Congress, so we'll touch on some of the quotes that he's made in regards to our economy. But first, I want to visit Bitcoin. What do you think of Bitcoin? You and I have never spoken about this subject before, and I'm very interested to get your thoughts about why the price has climbed up to $50,000.
It's climbed because there's a tremendous amount of speculation and a herd of speculators bidding on Bitcoin. That's why it's going up. So its market price, its market value is what it is. You know, it's about 49,000, almost 50,000 today per Bitcoin. But then there's another issue, and that is, well, what's the fundamental value of Bitcoin? And the fundamental value is zero. And people say, how can you say that? The price is almost 50,000. It was up to almost 60,000, an all-time high. How can you say the fundamental value is zero? And the fundamental value is zero. And the easiest way to get that under your hat is to think in terms of the flow of income generated by Bitcoin and
Okay, so we'll just look at what he's saying here. I'll continue in a bit as well. Okay, so he's saying, and I can see his point. I'm not saying he's like 100% wrong or anything, but he's saying Bitcoin is worth zero because it has no income flow, which that is a very valid argument. So like he's saying, because it doesn't generate anything, it's not worth anything. Okay. May I point out that gold doesn't give you any sort of income, but gold is definitely worth something. It's been around for thousands of years that it's worth something. Does gold pay you an interest rate? No, it's just worth something because somebody else says it's worth something. And then everybody came to the conclusion that it's worth something. So right off the bat, if he's saying something is only worth value if it gives you some sort of income, then gold has never been worth anything. And we all know that's not true. So right off the bat, he's wrong. Income does not determine the value of something. The Mona Lisa is probably priceless. Does it give some? I guess you could say it gives you an income because people come to see it. Maybe I guess you could argue that. Tourists come to see it. But I'm saying that the painting itself doesn't like give you money. But anyways, but we'll let him continue with what he's saying.
the flow is zero. It's not like money. Money broadly defined, most fiat monies broadly defined,
Yeah.
have a fundamental value because they pay interest. If you look at the 14 components of M4, that's the broadest money measure in the United States, 10 of those components, for example, like treasury bills, that's a component of broad money. Treasury bills pay interest. Well, Bitcoin doesn't pay interest. That's why you can say unambiguously that it has a fundamental value of zero. It pays no interest.
Okay, let's talk about valuations for an asset that doesn't generate cash flow. I'll bring up an interesting question that I remember being asked by one of my professors in finance way back when I was still in university. And the question was, suppose scientists get a hold of a dinosaur's DNA and they...
Okay, so he's going into something else, but he's talking about the definitive proof that money's worth something and Bitcoin isn't is this whole interest rate thing. So, okay, if you look at current interest rates, U.S. Treasury bill is paying what, like 1.5%, and inflation, I think, is like 2%, like maybe 1.75%, 2%, right? Let's just say, so you're negative 25 basis points at least when you look at what you're being paid on a T-bill and what the current inflation rate is, and to take it even further, that's just the inflation rate the government is saying that it is. And what most people don't know about when the government talks about inflation, they don't factor in assets. They just have a small basket of goods, like they'll say, like, your gas for your car, transportation costs, food costs, housing costs, so on and so forth. That's actually not so much housing costs, like, because they don't factor in assets like your house. They don't factor that in when they assess inflation. Like, they might say, I can't remember exactly how they articulate it, maybe rent, but they don't factor in the price of houses. That's probably your biggest purchase in your lifetime is your house. And they don't even factor that in when it comes to inflation. If you factor in housing prices, we're in a hyperinflation period. So if they're saying interest rates are 1.5%, it's much higher than that. I've seen stats where it says it's actually like, 18, 20%. So your 1.5% T-bill that he's bragging about, this is what proves that it's worth something that's giving you interest. It's really giving you nothing. And when you factor in inflation, it's actually negative. So right off the bat, his whole argument that fiat currency is worth something and Bitcoin isn't because of this gorgeous interest that it's paying, it's basically, when you factor in inflation, it's in the negatives. So this argument, as far as I'm concerned, but again, a guy like this would never admit to what I'm saying. He'll just say, whatever. And just to point out, I always notice, I know it's kind of a stupid thing, but whenever they show these intellectuals, they always have like a ton of books behind their head. And it's almost like, oh, we just caught him in the middle of, he just finished reading all this really, high-tech stuff, and he's a genius and all this. The guy is saying nonsense as far as I'm concerned. Like I said, the gold argument, that gold doesn't pay interest, and it's been basically the foundation of the economy for thousands of years, that blows his argument out of the water. And then when you factor in that these interest rates that fiat currencies are paying are, when you factor in inflation, are actually in the negatives, this guy's got nothing to stand on, man. And I'm not saying Bitcoin's the greatest thing in the world. Hey, it could be a total farce, down the road, whatever. But I'm saying, but this guy's argument in defense of fiat currency has no leg to stand on. But again, he's the big professor, you can't argue with him and so on and so forth. And like I said, if you want to talk about valuations, return on investments and so on and so forth, I would have to say a university education is probably the least valuable thing. Like, if you look at how much money people spend on a university education, and this guy is, the professor of a university, what employs him is probably the worst thing to put your money into. How many kids come out with a university degree, don't get into their field, they owe $200,000-$300,000, and they're lucky if they can find a minimum wage job full time. So that university degree is worth less than zero, because you're paying interest on a debt that didn't yield you anything. So you know what I mean? So this guy's I come from the university sector, and I'm gonna set you straight. Well, what this guy represents is probably one of the worst investments in history. Is a university education, modern day university education. They might have been worth something back in the day, but they're not worth anything now. And I think there's a direct correlation between, as university educations have become more expensive and their utility, like as it's been there's been a huge dichotomy between the two. It's a total polarization. I think that as they get more expensive, the more useless they become. Because I remember back in the day, like I had uncles and whatnot that went to, college, university, whatever. It was cheap back in the 70s and whatnot. It was like maybe $1,000 a year. And even back then, people say, well, $1,000 a year was a lot back then. It was worth more than now, but it was still relatively cheap. Like it was expensive. Like if you had a summer job, and a lot of these guys worked in factories and whatever to pay their bills, you could pay for your whole year university with a summer job. Like nobody was taking on tens of thousands of dollars of debt back then. Maybe the odd person, if you went to go be a doctor or something like that. But most people, it was just like a routine. Like you'd go work somewhere over the summer, you'd save enough to pay for your tuition. And a lot of people, maybe they worked part-time during the school year. But it was doable. Now, like people are getting into $50,000, $60,000 a year debt. And when they come out, they owe $200,000 and they have no job to go to. So if you want to talk about something, never mind is worth nothing, that's actually worth negative, I'd have to say university education. So anyways, this guy, he's set in his way, and look at the book here, The Socialist System. I'm sure he's going to get into that. But again, is Bitcoin, the be all and end all of life? No. But I'm saying to say it's worth absolutely nothing, it's worth, as far as I'm concerned, is based on its scarcity, just as gold was. But again, gold, it's not the actual physical thing that makes it worth something. It's just that it's rare, and that it's just you need a standard. You need something that everything can be based on, just to set the ground floor, right? And that's what gold was. And again, it's been said many times about Bitcoin. It's like gold 2.0, because the benefit it has is that it's not physical. It can go from one place to another very quickly, much quicker than gold. Gold, you got to pay to store it. It's got to be in a vault. If somebody wants it, you got to, take it out and send it somewhere else, and it has to have armored guards around it. Like, it's just too cumbersome. Bitcoin, even though people say, oh, it's not as fast as this other crypto, it's a hell of a lot faster than gold, right? And its scarcity is what its value is. It's a standard that people will agree upon, and it's happening more every day that people are agreeing on its value, as far as being a scarce commodity. And but anyways, I just think this guy, he's indicative of a typical out of touch intellectual hack that has been told his whole life he's so brilliant, he knows everything, yada yada yada. This guy is completely out of touch, and to think you're paying this guy $50,000 a year to listen to him, and he doesn't know what he's talking about, right? Maybe what again, like, I don't know. It's just one of those things, man. I do think this whole Bitcoin, blockchain, whatever, it's going to change the world in so many ways. Like a blockchain technology is going to destroy guys like this. Like, you're not going to be going to university anymore, listening to some stooge recite something that was written 200 years ago. You don't need that. You don't need to pay all that money. Go on Udemy. You can go to Udemy. Right? I don't know if you've ever been to this site, but you go to, it's called Udemy. You can take courses for like next to nothing, man. They're like $10. Yeah, prices as low as $16.99, and they're good courses. Like they're you can learn anything. If you want to learn how to program, you want to learn about economics, right here, introduction to finance, accounting, modeling, so on and so forth, right? You just go, like I said, you can learn anything, man. And look, you can learn Python, $16.99, machine learning, $16.99, learn about graphics design, $23.99, photography, whatever you want to learn, right? Python and data science, $16.99. And I'll tell you right now, this course here, if you really got good at this, if you took it serious and you got good at it, that's better than a university degree. Because the problem is when you go to like those types of jobs, if you don't know how to do it pragmatically, they don't care what your education is. Like you can do it or you can't do it. So you got to do the grunt work, right? But these courses are great. So like I said, these guys like this with his, you got to go, give me 50 G's a year to listen to me talk, blah, blah, blah. These days are coming to an end, and it's all happening at the same time. Like the way people are going to spend money, the way people are going to view money, blockchain technology, it's going to change the world, right? And this guy can't even see it coming. And you're paying him 50 grand a year to tell you information that is so far out of date. Like I actually think it's to the point it's detrimental to go to university, because you're going to go in there thinking that these guys have a knowledge that you don't have that's going to help you. These guys have no knowledge. They have no idea what's coming down the road. And this guy's going to walk right into a brick wall, and you along with it if you listen to him. So anyways, that's my rant for today. But I don't know. Just keep your chin up, try your best. And again, I don't know if Bitcoin's going to be, this isn't financial advice, but I'm saying it would appear for me, I can't speak for anybody else, this seems to be a viable investment. Anyways, take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.